Havana is a special city. For us, it marked the start and end of our time in Cuba. We began our time exploring the city, beginning at the Plaza de la Revolucion. Toward the end of the trip, we stopped at Havana once again and toured the university. On this final leg of the trip, we took some time to explore the streets of the city, a place with more than 2 million people. Many tourists visiting the resorts in the country have a chance to book an excursion to come to Havana. It's a chance to really connect with the Cuban culture, and an experience I believe everybody visiting the country should do. Depending on where you go, you'll see a mega clean street or an area that looks a little run down, and for the novice traveler, an uninviting and scary place. It's a mix of the urban cities we're used to and the reality of Caribbean living. Seeing Cuba as one of the safest islands in the area, feel free to go off the beaten path. You'll notice that at what looks like a rough and scary area is actually a typical street found everywhere in the city. Founded in the 16th century, Cuba's varied past means you'll see architectural influences from places like Russia and Spain, and it also means that you'll come across a ton of very old buildings. You'll notice blue logos on some of the homes. These are called Casa Particulares. They are Cuba's version of Airbnb. Instead of heading to a resort, Akane and I decided to stay local as much as possible, and these are the places we lived as we toured the country. They gave us an opportunity to engage with the locals and to push past any of the preconceived ideas we had. Visually speaking, the rundown look of the homes didn't faze Akane. I had been to several other Caribbean islands, and Akane had been through Southeast Asia, and the homes like this, in that area, are normal. They don't seem like they're out of place anymore, despite us both being from relatively rich countries. If this is your first time in a place like this, you may feel as though there's a lot of poverty, especially compared to back home. But it's really a lack of supplies available to make the repairs that's the issue. Remember, Cuba doesn't have the same international trading that we're used to in the Americas and Europe. That's one reason you won't find any brands you recognize, or even a wide variety of food. Everything that you'll come across has been grown and sourced right here in Cuba. As you're walking around the city, do yourself a favor and visit Iglesia del Sagrado Corazón de Jesus, a spectacular neo-Gothic Catholic church built around 1914. Whether you're a believer in the Christian religion or not, you'll be inspired by the attention to detail in every aspect of the building. Its strong stone exterior comes to a point 50 meters, or 164 feet in the air, making this the tallest church in the country. Inside, the aisles are filled with beautifully darkened wood pews and expansive arched ceilings. Artwork of various forms dominates the rear of the church, and an elaborate organ is available to sing hymns of praise to the Creator. Although other religions exist, Catholicism is by far the main religion here. It's a cultural identity and part of their lifestyle. On the other end of the spectrum, Cuba has music, dancing, and drinking as a pastime. Although we didn't do much of it while we were in Cuba, the drink prices in Vinales, a small town half-a-day bus ride west of Havana, was the perfect place to partake in this side of their lifestyle. So in addition to the 90-cent mojitos, they also have a $1 Cuba Libres, or rum and coke. So I could have 6 of these bad boys before I even spend as much as I would at home for one. So we're going to see whether that's really good or really bad. I'm going to say really good. Returning to the town, we needed to head up to Cuba's largest grocery store to stock up. No matter where we traveled, our goal was to blend in as much as possible. There are places, like Cuba, where no matter how hard you try, you'll stand out. Shopping in Cuba is very different than back home. Even in this mega grocery store, things seem to be divided into mini stores. You may be able to buy cooking oil, shampoo, and crackers in one store, but you'll have to go to a different one if you want water and canned beans. As an outsider looking in, it really didn't seem like there was any rhyme or reason to it. It must have been that they sold what they had, and if they're out, you go to the next place to find what you want. Items like meat and veggies aren't typically found in stores as well. You often need to visit a local butcher for meat, and go to the markets for veggies. This mega store was the only exception we saw, as grocery stores everywhere in the country were more or less a convenience store, which had a limited selection of select items. Considering this video was filmed a few months before the start of the COVID pandemic, there were things in Cuba that I wasn't always used to, like lineups to get inside the store. You ever been to a supermarket where you had to stand in line to get in before? You have? Where?
In Japan.
You have to wait in line to get inside the supermarket?
Like sometimes when they have like a big sale.
Okay. Well, this is my first time standing in line for
After us quick.
a grocery store. Okay, well that's maybe perhaps a little bit different. Obviously, living in a COVID-filled world now, things look a lot more like this everywhere, as companies limit the amount of guests at one time. In Cuba, you'll see lineups outside buildings in two different locations, the first one being here at Mercado Unical, Cuatro Caminos, and the second at ETE-SCA, the place where you purchase internet cards. Stocking up on items for our last few days in Cuba, we pressed onward, eventually coming to Chinatown. Things looked up. As you travel across the island, you'll quickly realize there are literally 5 things you can choose from in a restaurant. Mostly some form of ham and cheese sandwich, ham and cheese handheld pizza, ham and cheese with rice, or perhaps chicken and rice. When we came across Chinatown, we were so excited to add some variety to our meals, but we quickly noticed something. So we've noticed 2 things here in Chinatown. Number 1, there are no Chinese people, and number 2, there's no Chinese food in any of the Chinese restaurants. What's up with that? Well, look at that. We may about to be proved wrong with some temporary meals.
What's temporary meal?
Well, temporary is it's only going to stay in our stomachs for a little while and then it's going to go. Or it's only temporarily in the store. It took us looking at several different menus and restaurants, but eventually we found a place that offered meals we hadn't seen anywhere else on the island. It was a really nice change, and we came back as often as we could because meals were about 6 CUC each. For those who aren't familiar with Cuban currency, 1 CUC equals $1 US. Back on the streets, we were surprised to find a group of kids and their instructors putting on a performance highlighting some Chinese culture. The last part of our day brought us to the Malecon, one of the most famous tourist attractions in Havana. This 8-kilometer stretch of walkway, roadway, and seawall offers some of the best views of the city and the expanses of the ocean. We began our walk by visiting the Cuba sign outside the National Hotel of Cuba. This spectacular hotel was built in 1930 and the go-to place for American tourists before they were kicked out of the country. We walked the luxurious grounds. At the back of the hotel sat several cannons facing the harbor. It's easy to see their strategic placements as they guard the coast from ships heading towards the head of Havana Harbor. While we were there, Cuba was celebrating its 500th birthday. For some of you watching this, that may not sound like a long time, as places in Europe have been around for thousands of years. But to me, being from Canada, that seems like an eternity. You see, Canada also recently celebrated a big birthday back in 2017, but for us, we were just 150 years young. Continuing along the coast, we gradually began to creep closer and closer to downtown, in the mouth of the harbor. It's here you can find several forts mixed in with the fancy buildings. Although we didn't get a chance to visit them all, we did take time to go to the smaller Castillo San Salvador de la Punta, Cuba's oldest fort. Whether you are in Havana for a day tour or a week, you'll find something to do. Like all major cities, Havana is the cultural and social hub of the country, and a place where you can get a true sense of the land and the people. Cuba has such a rich history, mixed with ownership and control. As you walk the streets, chances are you'll find something that reminds you of home. For us, the Cuban Capitol building reminded us of North America, as the Capitol building in the United States and this one look very similar. As tourists walking the streets, we found people were eager to come up and offer you a tour. Many of the BC tours were well priced at 8 CUC. It may be worth doing if you don't have the time to explore on your own. Being in Havana for 3 days sounded like enough time, but after everything was said and done, I can say without a doubt it was not. I can't wait to come back one day to this beautiful city and country. Our journey through Cuba began and ended here in Havana. For those who haven't seen our entire series, I encourage you to look through the videos and see how diverse of a country Cuba really is. Being one of the safest and cheapest Caribbean countries, I feel confident saying we'll be back time and time again. But next time, we're going to be staying for longer. Interested in learning more about our journey through Cuba? Take this time to subscribe to our YouTube channel or visit our website for additional written information at joshuatravelguide.ca. Are you looking for something a little more hands-on? Why not join us for an excursion through Cuba for a truly authentic experience? Learn about these trips and more on our website. Why not share the love? If you enjoyed this video, do us a favor and share it with a friend, because together